Congratulations for being accepted as one of our tenants at Coldwell Banker Property Management. We really hope that we can serve you well and that you will have a good experience renting from us. We're going to go over a couple of very important things just to establish expectations for the terms of your lease. We're going to go over late fee policy. We're going to go over move-out procedures, move-in procedures, what things we do and do not cover in maintenance repairs. Be sure and watch this video and familiarize yourself with all of our policies so you feel confident signing your lease and that we can have a great working relationship. It's important that you read through the entire lease, but I'm going to go through and summarize some of our policies and procedures so that you know what's expected of you and you can hold us accountable and make sure that we're doing a good job too. So let's talk about lease policy. We're going to go clause by clause through the lease and summarize the main point. This first section tells you when the lease begins, and we cannot have anybody move in before that date. And it also mentions when the lease will officially end, when we definitely have to have the property clear and clean and prepared for the next tenant. This clause defines how much rent will be expected per month for the rental, and also says that the first month's rent needs to be paid before occupancy. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more during the move-in section of this video. And if we ever have to serve any legal notices, the service of notice charge of $75 is to be paid by the tenants. How to pay your rent at Coldwell Banker Property Management. The best way for you to pay your rent is through the online payment system. And you just need to go to this website, and I'm going to walk you through how to do that, but let me explain why it's the best way. When you make a payment online, it immediately comes out of your bank account. That means that you'll never have a check bounce and you'll never get nasty fees from your bank or a late fee from us because the check bounced. Paying online can save you a lot of money and time, and it's completely free. Let me show you how to do that. To pay your rent online, just go to our website, cbstgeorge.com, click on the Renting tab. These videos below will give you instructions about using the online system. Now click the Here button for current tenants and log in. You can view your current balance. It looks like I don't have anything to pay. You can also set up automatic recurring payments. It's as simple as that. So you don't even have to do this once a month. Click the Pay Now button. Now pay attention to this, it's very important. The e-check option is free. The credit card or debit card option is not. So use the e-check option. It's very, very easy. Click e-check. It'll show you how much your balance is, how much you would like to pay. Fill that out. Let's assume my rent is $750 per month. And you can see right here that we've already taken care of the convenience fee for you to make this free and simple and easy for you to pay online. Click Continue. Now here is where you'll enter your bank information. Whether or not it's a personal account, fill out the information here. You need your routing number, your account number, and the way to find that is on any of your checks. It's those numbers on the bottom of your check, the routing number and the account number. When you're filling these numbers in, make sure that they are 100% correct. If, for example, you type the account number wrong, you might get a bank fee for $25 or $30 when the bank finds out it's the wrong number. Click Continue. Verify that everything is correct. And click Make this payment now. The section option is just to mail a personal check to this address, Coldwell Banker Property Management. I want to mention again, it's so much better to pay online because if you send your check and it takes too long to get here, you could be liable for late fees, or if the check bounces, your bank could charge you a lot of fees because you didn't have sufficient funds in the account. Just keep that in mind. Okay, and here's the last option. If you don't even have a bank account, you'll have to get a money order from the post office. There's a post office right down the street from us. It's at 1150 East Riverside Drive, St. George. Just go there, get the money order. You'll take your cash. They'll charge you about $3 to get a money order, and it looks exactly like a check. You'll just need to bring that money order to the office at Coldwell Banker Premier Realty, and our address is 157 East Riverside Drive, number 1A, St. George, Utah, 84790, and you can leave it with the front desk staff. This way is pretty inconvenient, but here's a picture of how close we are. The post office is right down the street, about a 2-minute drive, so it's almost as if you would have just been bringing cash to the office anyway. So that's how you do a money order. We do not accept cash for rent payments at the office. Okay, that has been your tutorial on how to pay your rent with Coldwell Banker Property Management. Okay, so moving on to the security deposit. Funds that we hold to secure the property and make sure there is no damage left or rents unpaid at the end. The security deposit will be returned to you if the property is left in the same condition that it was received. But, however, the sum of $250 of the security deposit is non-refundable. A portion of that is to cover the cost of initiating the lease, and the rest is for professional carpet cleaning that we require on all of our properties. After you've moved out, it can take up to 30 days after the lease ends for the security deposit to be returned per Utah law. But if you request and you'd like to, we do offer a 7-day early return deposit service for a charge of 10% of the total deposit amount. We have every tenant who is over the age of 18 sign a lease. So if somebody's staying in the property for more than 3 days, that means that they're technically an illegal tenant. We need to know for sure who is staying in the property. If people are living in the property that we don't know about, there can be a $100 charge per person per day for this lease violation. Late fees. Rent is due on the first day of the month. There will be a late fee equal to generally $50 charged for rents not received on or before the 5th day of the month. So rent is due on the 1st, and late fees are charged on the 5th day of the month. We know that you'll never be late because you are awesome, but we are very, very strict about collecting rent. If rent hasn't been received by the 6th day of the month, we serve a 3-day notice to pay or vacate, which is a legal document basically that starts an eviction process. I know, it sounds scary, but just want to emphasize that it's important that rent is paid on time. Here are a couple other lease restrictions. We do not allow smoking on the property, nor do we allow guests or friends of the tenants to be smoking anywhere on the property. It's also important in the second section, lessee is required to park the number of vehicles in the garage or carport for which the garage or carport was constructed. Also, for example, we don't want any cars parked on the landscaping or anywhere that would damage sprinkling systems or the landscaping on the property. Acceptance of premise. The tenants accept that the premises are in fit and habitable condition. And at the end here it says lessee or tenant shall not change or rekey the locks or install other locks on the door without prior written consent of Coldwell Banker. This is a safety issue. We have to have keys to the property to make sure that if there are any maintenance emergencies, we can get in and take care of the problem. You're still awake, right? You're still paying attention? It's a little boring. Okay, repairs and maintenance. First off, any damage to the property that is tenant caused will be charged to the tenant, so keep that in mind. We also take care of all the major repairs and things on the property, but there are some smaller things that you as the tenant and the steward of our property will be responsible for. Take a look at this list. As well, we're going to talk a little bit more at the end about the minor maintenance addendum. Now this one's really important. All maintenance requests must be made in writing. That means that you can get online to Appfolio, to your tenant portal, send us a written, documented maintenance request, and we'll take care of it and track everything. Obviously, written notice isn't required for emergencies, and we'll talk about that a little bit more after this. Maybe pause the video and read through this entire clause. Assignment and sublease means someone taking over the lease in your name. This is generally not allowed, but in extreme cases, if you see at the bottom the highlighted section, there is a charge for our services. Okay, speaking of utilities, at our properties at Coldwell Banker, the tenants pay for all the utilities for the home or unit that are needed, okay? So you need to go ahead and go to the utility company, usually St. George City or Santa Clara City, and get the utilities put into your name prior to occupancy, before you move in. Okay, leaser's right to access. So we'll give you 24 hours notice if we ever need to come in, do a repair, do an inspection, anything like that. Regarding insurance and taxes, we also need to have proof that you have renter's insurance before you move in. We require a policy, a personal liability policy that has $100,000 coverage, which is the minimum, and we just need to have a copy of the insurance policy and contacts before you move in. Okay, the surrender of possession clause says that the tenants will be responsible to clean the property according to the checkout list that we will give you. We'll talk about that a little later in the video on move out. And if the property is not clean or there's damage, then we reserve the right to deduct from the security deposit that money to bring it back up to the standard. At the bottom note, it says, in addition, lessee tenant shall patch walls and doors where pictures, mirrors, posters, or other similar items were placed and have been removed. Okay, this section authorizes us to do a credit and background check for the screening process, as well as authorizes us to do those checks as long as there is a balance with us for the property. Okay, the joint responsibility clause talks about how everyone who signed the lease, which includes guarantors, they are each individually responsible for the total amount of rent. So if there are 3 people on the lease, each person could be responsible for the whole amount. If there are 3 people, it doesn't mean you're only responsible for 33% of the rent if it doesn't get paid. Our tenants are the stewards and overseers of our properties. So for little teeny tiny maintenance things like a toilet that needs to be plunged or a light bulb that has gone out, we leave that up to the tenant to take care of and be responsible for. Take a look at some of the other items on the minor maintenance addendum that you may need to know about. So this minor maintenance addendum is a list of small repairs that the tenants are responsible for. So changing filter in the air conditioning and heater every other month. Things like changing the batteries in the smoke detectors, usually every 6 months. Cleaning the coils behind the refrigerator to keep the refrigerator in good condition. And changing the filter for the fridge. The toilets in your home have been tested and currently flush properly. If your toilet becomes stopped up while you're living at the property, it's at the responsibility and cost of the tenant to fix that problem. The landscaping on the property needs to be clean and free of weeds, mowed, and trimmed and fertilized spring and fall. If the landscaping is not taken care of, we actually send a landscaper out, and that cost will be added to your rent. Plumbing can be very sensitive, so here's a list of things that shouldn't go down the sinks or drain pipes. Fats, oils, coffee grinds, eggshells, produce stickers. Feminine hygiene products is a really important one, can be really damaging to plumbing. Anything flammable, corrosive, needles, prescription medication, any other things like that. Keep in mind as well, if a repairman sent out and he/she concludes that it was a tenant-caused problem, then the tenants will be charged to have it fixed. Take a look at this section about non-emergency calls at unreasonable hours. We provide maintenance staff to be available 24 hours a day for emergency situations. But if there's an issue that is not an emergency and a tenant makes repeated calls at unreasonable hours, defined as before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m., there could be a charge for that. Now we're going to go over maintenance emergencies. We're going to define what is and what is not a maintenance emergency. We definitely want to take care of every maintenance item on our properties. All maintenance requests can be made online through Appfolio, but here are some things that tenants aren't always sure about whether they should call about or not. Okay, we're gonna start with the grossest first. If your sewer backs up, if there is sewage coming into the home, that is most definitely a maintenance emergency. No matter what time it is, give Ben or one of the office staff a call. Now, if it's just that a toilet is clogged, that is definitely not a maintenance emergency, especially if there's an extra toilet in the home. Go ahead and use that one and we'll have a plumber in there the next day or as soon as possible. If there is a drain leak on the inside of the home and it can't be stopped with either these small ball valves or any other way, a shutoff valve, that is most definitely a maintenance emergency. Anytime there's a leak, it's important that we take care of it. But if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you can just put a bucket underneath it until the morning, we'll send out a handyman, we'll take care of it that way. These are 2 supply lines for your faucet. These oftentimes leak. Usually you can just turn off the leak by that ball valve right there, that little knob on the bottom left and right. Is it a maintenance emergency if there's no hot water at the property? No, that's not an emergency. While it's important, we can send a person out in the next morning or the next day and we'll get it taken care of within 24 hours, but it's not an emergency for a 3 a.m. call. Okay, what about a power outage? Yes, a power outage can be a maintenance emergency. Feel free to call the emergency number anytime you need to if you've got a power outage and you have serious concerns about that. That brings up another point. Let's talk about gas smells in the home. These need to be taken very seriously, and these can be maintenance emergencies. Gas leaks can be very dangerous, so please take care of these if you have a concern. We're lucky enough to have pretty mild temperatures in St. George, but what if there's no heat or no AC in the home? They can sometimes be a maintenance emergency. If it's cold outside, something below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, definitely a maintenance emergency. Give us a call and we'll take care of it. Okay, what about appliances? If your fridge, your oven, your washer and dryer, if they quit working. Very important to get fixed, but not a 3 a.m., 4 a.m. maintenance emergency. Here's an interesting one. What about when you come home and you realize you don't have your keys and you're locked out of the rental? Maintenance emergency or not? It's not our policy to do after hours lockout. So if you do get locked out of a rental, you'll need to just call a locksmith, have them take care of it, and then we'll address any issues in the morning. So I guess on Coldwell Banker Property Management side, this is not a maintenance emergency. Now, a couple of safety things. What if your doors don't lock or your windows are broken or there's crime that's just happened at the property? Definitely a maintenance emergency. We need to be on top of that, make sure that you are safe, that the rental is safe, and that we know about any crime happening on the property. Keep in mind, calling at unreasonable hours with something that is not a maintenance emergency could result in a fee. Now we're going to talk about the pre-move-in checklist and all the things that need to be done before we can hand over keys and get you in your new home. This pre-move-in checklist will be emailed to you, but I'm going to go over it line by line right here so there's no confusion. Before you move in, you need to have watched the policies video, which you're watching right now. Good job. Check. Obviously, we need to have all the lease documents signed and returned to the office, preferably online through Appfolio, which you'll get a link to in your email. Both rent and the deposit need to be paid before you can move in, and it must be certified funds. This one's super important. Before you move in, both rent and the security deposit need to be paid with certified funds. That means a cashier's check, money order, cashier's check typically. We will not accept normal checks or cash for rent or deposit payments before you move in. You need to provide to the office proof that all the utilities have been transferred into your name. That includes Questar gas utilities. People typically miss that one. We also need proof that renter's insurance has been obtained, or let us know that you'll be using the company-provided insurance, which is $9.50 per month. And then the landlord checklist, returned within 5 days from move-in. This is a checklist that helps you to document any damage on the property when you move in so that we don't charge you for it when you move out. That needs to be returned to us within 5 days from when you move in. And just a note at the bottom, we're very serious about this. If there are any items from above that are incomplete, you will not be permitted to move in. So even though there might be a U-Haul or a truck in front of the house, we can't have someone move in until all of these things have been done. Please plan accordingly. Let's talk about AppFolio. AppFolio is an awesome software that allows you to pay rent online, view maintenance orders, track how long it's taking for a maintenance item to be completed. You can get a copy of your lease printed out. Here's how to log in to your online portal. In a web browser, just go to our website, cbstgeorge.com, and click the Renting tab. Find the link for current tenants, and click here. After you log in, it'll take you to your home page where you can pay your rent, see your current balance, request maintenance, and access a whole bunch of other great information about your rental. Great job! You made it through the entire lease policy video and you weren't even bored. Your next step is going to be to sign your lease electronically if we sent it to you in your email, and be sure and schedule a move-in date with Ben or one of the staff. We're so excited that you're renting with us, and we're looking for a great relationship together. Thank you so much, and have a great day.